Adam here from the KP Movement Institute. In today's video, we're going to be talking about goal setting using the SMART acronym. Make sure to like and comment below, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Let's go. To create our goal, we are going to use the SMART acronym. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. Now this acronym may have different words depending on whether you're in business or in fitness, or perhaps what fitness facility you are or where you learned it, but the idea is all the same. So let's start off. We're going to go through each piece or each section of this acronym so that you better understand how to formulate your goal. So S, specific. What are we specifically trying to achieve? Like, what's the end goal or the specific aspect of health or fitness that I'm trying to affect? So in this, we might have decreased body fat or increased muscle mass or increase energy levels or decrease stress. We could also go and talk about decreasing blood pressure or cholesterol or resting heart rate, increasing my cardiorespiratory fitness or my VO2 max. Now with all of these, you'll notice that they're all something that I can measure. So I have a way to actually track my progress towards the goal, and they're all things that I can't just snap my fingers and tomorrow it happens. It's something that I have to work towards. So it's not an action step, it's not a choice, it's something that I can actually work towards as a goal. Now once we have this, we can then look at the M, so measurable. What or how much do I want that specific aspect of health or fitness to change? So let's use an easy example of fat loss. So if I want to lose body fat, how much body fat? 5 pounds, 30 pounds, 10 pounds? The reason this is important is because, one, it gives me the ability to actually track not only the change and my progress towards achieving the goal, but also it enables me to set perhaps some smaller goals in the middle, and also helps me set out the specific time frame, because that is going to have to do with how much I want to change. If I look at the difference between changing 5 pounds of body fat, so decreasing 5 pounds of body fat versus 50 pounds of body fat, there's a drastic time frame difference between those two goals. And so it's important that we have something that we can measure so we can not only track progress and achievement, but also set a specific timeline for us. A, attainable. This is, what am I going to do, or what do I need to do in order to achieve the goal that I have set out? What's going to make it attainable for me? And these are just general changes that I want to make, general areas. And so you can talk about, when we're looking at our example of fat loss, maybe I'm talking about changing my nutrition, so improving nutrition, going and doing some resistance training, maybe some cardiorespiratory fitness. Maybe I'm holding on to body fat because I'm highly stressed, so maybe I have to also look at some stress release as well. Maybe I have to improve my sleep because I haven't been sleeping much, and so my body's storing more fat. All of these are going to be aspects that I can write within that attainable section. So when you're working with a client, these are all the general areas that you're going to want your client to focus on. But changing all of that all at once isn't something that's realistic, and that's where R, or realistic, comes in. And so here we actually write down 2 or 3 very specific action steps that that client can take right away. And these have to be small little changes, because those small little changes, as we build them week by week, month by month, are what are truly going to change that client's lifestyle and their ability not just to achieve the goal, but to maintain the change. And that's really what we're looking for, is how do I get them to the point where they can actually maintain the change and the lifestyle adjustments that we have made throughout this process. So I'm not just training them to do a quick 50 pounds of fat loss. While that might be nice for them, the results are something that are going to then leave, and we're going to just go through these yo-yos. So we want to make sure that there are something that are going to stick. So pick 2 or 3 things, maybe 1 a week over the first month. Maybe we look, 1 every 2 weeks, depending on how busy the client is or how often they're looking at coming in. And we just change a couple things from there. The last one is T, so time sensitive. When we set a timeline to a goal, it gives us a little bit more motivation to achieve it because there's some pressure. Often people like to procrastinate whenever we look at setting a goal or if we've got homework. And so if you set yourself a specific timeline when you want to either complete it or maybe have it submitted if it's something that's schoolwork, that's going to be really important for you staying on track with that change. And so with the time sensitive piece, we have to make sure that it's a timeline that is actually realistic for us as well. So if we go back to our example of body fat, average body fat loss might be 1 to 2 pounds per week. That's healthy. Yes, you can lose far more body fat in a week, but that isn't going to be a sustainable change for you or your client. So we want to make sure that it's something that's realistic for us. So a lot of times you're going to have to look at, well, what are the averages for fat loss? Sometimes you're going to have to use just your own experience, maybe something that's happened with you and how fast you attained a goal and have maintained it, hopefully. Maybe you're comparing to different clients or other clients that you have, but you're oftentimes just going to hypothesize. So take a best guess as to how long this goal is going to take to achieve. And you want to make sure that you always underpromise and overdeliver, meaning that you always err on the side of caution when you're giving them a timeline, and you always say it's going to take longer than it does. Because if you tell somebody something's going to take 50 weeks and it ends up taking 60 weeks, well, they're probably not going to be all that happy with that. But if you tell them it's going to take 60 weeks and it really takes 50 weeks, well, then they're probably going to be pretty happy, right? Because it happened faster than you said it would. So we want to make sure that we manage those expectations with our clients when it comes to goal setting. So now that we've gone through this acronym, let's talk about 2 other pieces to this puzzle. The first is the use of easy to measure versus hard to measure goals. So an easy to measure goal is something that I can directly measure, right? It's something that is objective. So I can track it, whether it's resting heart rate or blood pressure, body fat, those types of things are all easy to measure. Something that is hard to measure might be something like stress. There's no direct measure of stress. It is subjective to the individual. They know how much they feel, and so you have to figure out a way to measure that. The easiest way to measure a hard to measure goal is to utilize a 0 to 10 or a 1 to 10 scale. 10 being kind of really high, stress in this case, and then 0 or 1 being on the low end. And then you just get them to rate it. And so it's a subjective measure specific to each individual client that you have. Now, the second piece is looking at how we can utilize short-term goals within our long-term goal. If I have one goal of maybe losing 50 pounds of body fat, well, tracking change and achieving milestones is going to be difficult with that because I've only set out one goal. So maybe I want to have multiple small goals, so short-term goals, within that long-term time frame. So if I've set out to lose 50 pounds in 50 weeks, maybe I have a goal that at the end of every 2 months, I want to have 8 pounds of fat loss every 2 months. That's going to enable me to not only track that, but make sure that I'm being efficient and that my program is effective. So I can set out several short-term goals within the larger long-term goal. Also with some clients, they might have multiple goals. So maybe it's not just fat loss, maybe it's fat loss plus some muscle mass gain plus decreasing resting heart rate. So you have to figure out which one's the longest, which one's going to take the longest to achieve, and then the other two are going to be shorter term goals within that. And I can also cut down all of those goals into smaller short-term goals. Okay. Now, hopefully this has helped you better understand why we goal set and how to use that SMART acronym. In the description below, I've also attached a link that you can use. You can download a worksheet for SMART goals and use this to create your own or with clients. I'll see you in the next video.